Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? Welcome to the Rumboyz Fantasy Sports Network. Definitely excited for tonight's exclusive interview. We have Krystal Nungaray. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Close enough, Nungaray, but hey, it's difficult.
Nungaray. I will make sure that by the end of this interview, I have that perfect. But we have Krystal, producer for the NFL Network, here live with us, video call from California. And we're just going to be excited to get into some of the ins and outs of, what it takes to become a producer, especially for the NFL. And then Krystal also knows our good friend Adam and knows a thing or two about fantasy football. So we're going to ask her a few fantasy football questions as well and get a couple of her takes. But first, Krystal, let's go ahead and let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Awesome, yes. I am a producer for the NFL Network, and that entails a lot of different things. I wear a lot of different hats. I started working on a show called NFL AM. It was an old morning show that turned into NFL HQ, and then we moved it to the East Coast, right? It became Good Morning Football, what you guys probably watch in the morning now.
Right.
So when that happened, I got to step over to shows like Total Access, 21st in Prime, Power Rankings, Game Day Live, and I also freelance for CBS Sports. And that means I get to be sidelines for any Charger games, any Rams games that are CBS. Sometimes I get to be in the booth with Tony Romo and Jim Nance, which is a blast.
Wow.
I'm happy to report that Tony is as nice of a guy as ever, and we are having so much fun. As much fun as you think we're having in the booth, that's how much fun we're having. He is singing at the top of his lungs during commercial breaks, so Tony is a treasure to work with. And yeah, as far as what I do on like a day-to-day basis, again, it varies. It's a lot of writing. It's coming up with those taglines that you see on TV. Like if we're trying to get you to stick around through commercial break, those like if we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, it'll say like rolling with Mahomies, or if we're talking about Carlos Hyde and Ezekiel Elliott, like Hyde and Zeke, those like catchy little phrases. Writing copy for the talent to read. Sometimes it's overseeing all of our edit bays and all of the content that's coming out of there. So that's music videos, that's press conferences, that's highlights. And sometimes it's working with the talent and helping them figure out their arguments and their points and their counterpoints. Because if you're watching sports TV or listening to sports radio, the guys never agree, right? And that's what makes it a TV.
Right. Yeah, we definitely don't always agree.
That's what makes it fun, though. That's what makes it entertaining.
Yeah, we had stepmom Lauren on earlier today. We let the women take over the network today. So girl power to you guys. Way to represent both of you guys. But yeah, we had her on the show. And, like, it was interesting. All three of us like just disagreeing with each other. Like it was great. It was great. I'm excited to see some of your fantasy takes and see where we go there. So one of the things that I wanted to ask is what made you pursue a career as a producer, and how did it lead into CBS and NFL Network?
Awesome. So I started watching football when I was super young. Like I remember my first football season was 1994 season, 95 year, when the Chargers went to the Super Bowl and lost in an awful fashion to the Niners. And I just remember my city being on fire, and it was electric, and it was all over the news, and like people were wearing the hats, and I had like a big sticker on my TV, like my big box TV. And I just remember falling in love with football then. And I grew up with dozens of older guy cousins, and I have like dozens of uncles. And if I wanted to speak at the dinner table or the Thanksgiving table, I had to know my stuff because they were.
Right.
So I started reading the newspapers on Sunday and just trying to get, any kind of nuggets that I could. And they would attack me because I was like the only Charger fan. And we're so easy to pick on.
Oh, yeah.
Like 10 years old. And, I wanted to be in with the guys. And so I had to really study my stuff. And now I know too much and they don't want to talk football with me anymore.
Right.
That kind of backfired on me, but that's kind of how it started. And then I was like, I just want to work for the NFL. I didn't know at that point I wanted to be a producer, but I was like, I need to work for football.
Nice.
Sweet.
And then so what, like, was it just, like a major that you picked, like you just kind of, and then it just manifested into its own thing?
Yeah, so I started television broadcasting actually when I was in middle school. I was lucky enough to go to a school that offered that and fell in love with that. And then in high school, I was a part of the #1 broadcasting program in the country. We competed for Emmys and go to competitions. That sounds really quirky, but it's a thing. Shout out to the Student Television Network. And so I went to college. I went to Chapman University, and I knew I was going to study television broadcast journalism. And I also knew that I didn't want to move to North Dakota and work in local news because you have to start in a small market. And the thought of local news just wasn't my thing. And at that point, I was really invested in football. I was watching all the time. And I was like, we're going NFL Network. It's here in Los Angeles. And I got an internship my senior year. And I just never really left. I just kept showing up even after my internship. And they finally, after the draft in March, April, they're like, okay, we don't have anything for you. But they called me a week before graduation. They said, come in, have an interview. And I've been there ever since.
Nice. So your story sounds very, very similar to Adam, because he said the exact same thing.
The key is just get in there. And then when they're like, well, we don't have any work for you, be like, okay, well, I'll be back tomorrow. It's not a problem. So, yeah, I mean, hey, consistency.
Yeah,
being persistent.
I love that. Let's see here. Getting into to my next question. I mean, you kind of already answered, if they're what education. I'm actually going to kind of switch the script around. You yourself being a industry professional, one of the things I feel like we pride ourselves on is being that common ground between, mainstream sports media and, the underground sports media of what's coming up, kind of right now. Do you feel that there's a common ground between, the podcasting world and, you guys in mainstream media as well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our stories and things that we end up talking about can come from podcasts, can come from things we see on Twitter, can come from anywhere. And I mean, a lot of those things we rely on Antonio Brown tweeting out his notice from Mike Mayock about getting fined this morning. We just want to report whatever you guys are talking about. So now we have this. Twitter has provided this whole platform of when we don't know what to talk about that day, we just look at what's trending on Twitter and what people are doing. And that can be done on a show like this. That can be done on a podcast. If people are passionate about sports and they're educated on what they're talking about, anybody can join the conversation. And I think that's what is so great about my industry, and especially people on the NFL Network, is a lot of the people that you see as our writers or our people on air as talent, is they just found their voice and they found what they were bringing to the conversation that was unique. And that's how they got their platform.
Yeah.
Love it.
I like it. Let's see here. Give me just 1 second. So I did catch, I believe it was last week, right? Yeah. When you were on Adam Rank's show, you had mentioned that Thursday night football is your baby, but you had also, let me know that like all a lot of your work happens in Culver City, right? But what is a day like for you when you're working Thursday night football? I mean, that's a huge production.
Yeah, so I'm moving this season. I've gone from the world of daily grind content, where I was walking in every day and helping produce a Total Access, where everything was done in an 8-hour period. And it was like downhill skiing, live TV, and like hoping that you don't run into a tree. It was just like crazy, and like breaking news and going live and overtime games. And it just feels like you can't breathe sometimes. It's an adrenaline rush and we love it. And now I'm transitioning into this features world where we get to work on elements for an entire week. And we get to really tell the story of what's happening with the Bears and the Packers this week. And so I'm overseeing pieces like when you watch Thursday night kickoff or game day kickoff tomorrow, you'll see wired pieces where we see, the best of the Bears and the Packers, music videos, you'll see interviews, in-depth interviews, sit-down interviews, all of those specialty elements in between Colleen and our talent on the desk. All of the things that are produced within that is what we're working on in Culver all week. And so now that I get to put more time into those stories and really dig up a bunch of really cool things from films and those wires and those moments that we love, I just feel like those are the things that get you super excited on Sunday morning or Thursday night before kickoff. And you're like, oh man, like one of the elements we just finished is the Bears losing their playoff season game last year, right? How many people remember that they lost on a double doink?
I'm a Bears fan.
Dude, so you remember, but the average person like totally forgot. So we put together this like super dramatic, like tug at your heartstrings. Like if you're a Bears fan, you're gonna be like, no. And if you are not a Bears fan, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that sucks. And that's how
tomorrow. I have to watch that tomorrow. Oh.
It's gonna be so great.
Kill me.
It's gonna be so great.
It's gonna be cool to see, but
yeah, and now when you're watching that piece, you're gonna be like, I know the producer.
The sneak peek on that.
That oversaw this.
Very cool.
Wow, I'm laughing. Why is it every single special guest that comes on finds a way to
mention the Bears?
To mention the Bears, yeah. It's great. I love it.
But she said she's a Chargers fan, so she understands. There's a lack of things going on. Yeah. Like you guys got to get more fans in there.
Yeah, my fans are questionable because as soon as they left Los Angeles, I stopped supporting them. So I am teamless at the moment. I enjoy supporting the Rams because to me, the Chargers gave my city the middle finger and said, bye, see you later. And I'm like, okay, you're trying to leave America's finest city on those terms and blame it on us? Sorry. Okay. Well. Our owner, my previous owner, the Spanos family, oh gosh, this is on the internet, but oh well. You can't afford to build your own stadium, right? Kroenke can afford to build a stadium wherever the heck he wants. So you've got to cooperate with the city. And when you don't want to cooperate with the city, you move to another city, and now you're going to pay rent to another owner for a stadium that you're not going to be able to fill.
Right.
You want me to go support you in that city. But
that's tough.
Yeah, that's rough.
But guys, like the Bears, I love. So it's hard for me to like cut ties completely, but it's also really nice on Sundays to not care if the Chargers lose, because they're one of those teams like Chargers got a Charger and they lose in the worst ways possible.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. I remember you guys' kicker situation. You guys had a kicker situation not too long ago.
Kicker situation all the freaking time. We have a fourth quarter situation.
Yeah. The fourth quarter, there's 3 points left or a touchdown needs to be scored and just can't get over the hump. Like I said, I'm a Redskins fan. I understand it's been a hard 27 years.
I feel like it's hard to pick your favorite team too when you get to hang out with some of the guys that you do. Yep. You know, you get to see the personality of Tony Romo, some of the guys that are on the field. It's hard to commit to a team. Again, we just got to meet 40 of the rookies, and I'm rooting for 32 different teams.
Yep, I'm
rooting for everybody out there. I'm like, I don't care what team you're on. I hope they do well. So.
Exactly. No, I'm 100% with you. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's healthier, honestly. Because on Sundays, we're happier, right? If you just sit down and you can watch any game and you can cheer for any player and you just want to see a good game script, you just want to see good performances, there's no heartbreak.
Yeah,
it helps.
I'll say, starting the podcasting and streaming, Bill, it definitely changed the way that I viewed the NFL and, the way I view, players and stuff like that. When I first got into it, we were just like, let's just start a platform, like you mentioned, to have a voice. And then here we are almost a year later. October 10th will be our first year. We've interviewed 40 rookies, had multiple different, industry talent. It's just given us a whole lot more respect for what goes into this and, the hard work and dedication that you guys put in, that the players put in, just to give us this game that we enjoy and that, we are entertained by. Like, to me, it's no longer entertainment. Like, I see a different side now.
you see the back end. I mean, before we used to just love what's on the field, but now you kind of like, again, like you said, I'm going to be paying attention to everything that happens in between commercials before the game like that now. And I'm like,
exactly.
You kind of hone into that a little more.
Like now I'm like, okay, I know what goes into, the production side, and just different aspects. I know what the players are going through and what they feel like after, talking with them. It's completely different once you start, doing this, or, you start, you're inside the industry, you're an NFL insider, anything like that. After meeting all those guys, met Matthew Berry, it was like game changer, life changer. This is what I need to do with my life in order to get to where I want to go. Sorry about that segue. Yeah, that was beautiful that you did.
I loved it. I loved it.
I
loved it.
Let's segue into something that makes us happy on Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays.
Besides football, I thought that was our conversation.
Fantasy football. Ooh. Ty, did you want to go ahead and ask the first question?
Sure. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I have 5 leagues this year, and look, I know that that's not a lot by some of these people's standards, but it's a lot for me, and I'm just not looking forward to it.
It's hard. You're kind of like, oh, he just scored a touchdown, but then you're like, wait, but I'm playing him this week, but I have him in this league, and you're like, what's going on?
I'm in 10 leagues.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
impressive.
At some point, like Adam Rank is in like 25 leagues. I just don't have the time on Sunday mornings to be setting all these rosters anymore. Like it's just too much.
Yeah,
he's got to have every player like throughout all that. Wow,
like believe me, I know
right now about drafting, and I'm just like,
that's crazy.
What was that?
He's messaging me right now about a team that he's drafting, and I am ignoring him. But
see, everybody's all on the fantasy advice tip.
I like it.
So I'll let you go ahead and ask the first question, though, Ty.
Yeah. So fantasy-wise, obviously, again, we run a fantasy podcast essentially here, talk all sports, but try and help people out with fantasy advice all the time. So you said you're in 5 leagues. What is your strategy, I guess, per se, when you're getting ready to start a draft? Are you a running back heavy person? Do you like to go receiver, running back? What's kind of your thought when you go into it?
So depends on my pick, right? So if I was anywhere in the first 3 this year, I was taking one of the big 3s, right? I was taking a running back. If I was anywhere between 4 to 12, or I did a 16 team last night, I was taking the best player available. Except in my 16 team league, I made sure to grab a running back in the first 2 rounds. I went James Conner and then Devontae Freeman because I was like, you can make it work with a bunch of wide receivers, like third dudes, like you can make it work with like a D.D. Westbrook. You can make it work with a Kiki Cootie, like those things can happen. But it just depends on where you're falling in your order. And so my first draft this year, I was like, I'm going to go running back, right? But then I was like pick 6, and I ended up going 4 wide receivers in a row.
Wow.
And I was, because they were all there. They were just great dudes. And, I had 2 flex spots. So that's why. And I could start all 4. So that was a little bit of an anomaly, but so you can start all 4 there. And you can make it work with like a Miles Sanders and like a Jordan Howard, but again, it depends on your league settings, PPR. So I'm always going running back. I'm trying to get a running back in the first 3, no matter what your thing is. And then I always take a quarterback late. I'm not taking late is different by people's standards. I reached for Andrew Luck in like the 8th round of my first draft, and then what happened? He freaking retired. So now I have Jacoby Brissett.
Right.
And I never draft a kicker. I never draft a defense. I always just stack my bench. But that sucks because tomorrow morning I'm going to have to go through all my leagues and figure out who I'm going to drop, and I have to roster a kicker and a defense. But I always tell everybody, don't draft a defense, don't draft a kicker, stream them, because if you it's such a waste to draft even the Bears or the Rams, because 1 week they're not going to serve you a purpose, and I bet you 3 or 4 weeks they're not going to have the best matchup. So you're going to be tempted to start someone else, and then you've cost yourself a draft pick. So,
right.
I also am not a fan of the stack. I know a lot of people love stacking their wide receiver quarterback. I don't like it.
It's risky.
You're tied to a game script. You are tied to game conditions. You're tied. Like, the Browns offense could just go out and suck that day. And if you have Baker and OBJ and Chubb, like, what are you doing?
Right.
See, so I always tell people with the stack strategy, quarterback and receiver, and just keep it simple and go with the Baker and Odell, or Mahomes and Kelsey.
I agree though. Like if you look at the scoreboard and you see that the team that you have both of them on has 7 points, you're kind of like either it's to my quarterback to receiver, or I'm putting a goose egg up kind of thing. Like it's kind of hard.
I feel you.
I enjoy the quarterback running back stack because no matter what, when your offense is on the field, you're getting points.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I like that.
And I don't see the benefit of people being like, oh, get Cam Newton and Curtis Samuel. I'm like, but Curtis Samuel gets points either way, so why not have Aaron Rodgers and Curtis Samuel, or why not have Curtis Samuel,
Right.
Yeah, Cam is going to be completely ineffective in fantasy this year, so not even sweating Cam.
Ineffective? Okay.
Yes, I am very down on Cam Newton this year.
I don't know about it.
Oh, I'm down on Cam Newton this year, bro.
I don't know about it.
Yep. I said it. The chat that's watching can hate me for it. I'm with it. Yeah, I'm gonna get all the hate. You guys can send your hate to rumboyz.com. Thanks. Let's see here. What else did you want to discuss aside from draft strategy? What is your starting lineup like? Pick any of your lineups. What is one of your starting lineups looking like right now?
Oh gosh. Okay, let's look at my 16-team league, and you guys tell me, because this was difficult to draft because it was 16 teams.
Yeah, we just did an 18 team, so yeah, we understand.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It was pretty wild. Yeah.
In our defense, it was hosted for our sponsor, Sportscaster. We love you guys. So it was for, to unite all the users and all the streamers that utilize that service, which all of you guys that are watching, I still want to let you know, y'all are losing. Thank you.
Welcome to fantasy football.
Welcome to fantasy football. All is fair and low in fantasy football.
So for the 16-team league, I've got Dak, Robert Woods, who I affectionately refer to as Bobby Trees, Curtis Samuel, James Conner, Devontae Freeman, OJ Howard, and Will Fuller in the starting lineup.
Okay.
Not dudes that I took a lot of other places, but I like that I have stock in them. I'm high on Curtis Samuel this year. I think he's great. And I didn't have OJ Howard in any of my other leagues, so I was like, all right, let's go. I did take Ryan Fitzpatrick with my very, very last pick of the draft, and I feel good about it.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you could definitely tell that you.
Depends on what week.
Yeah.
It depends on what week, but
you
that could
tell
be a
that you
home
waited
run.
on quarterback. You can tell because Dak and Fitzpatrick. So I like that. Fuller, him and Deshaun Watson are always going to have a love connection.
I like it, especially for a 16-team league.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. You said you had James Conner, right?
James Conner, Robert Woods, Devontae Freeman. Yep. And then on the bench, I've got some solid dudes just ready to go. I've got Dante Moncrief, Tyrell Williams, Deshaun Hamilton.
Okay. Hey, Deshaun Hamilton, he's going to be a sleeper pick. Probably around like week 5, week 6. We see when he can be effective. We can see where he really steps out. I would give it. What do you want to give it, Ty? If you wanted to grade it, I'll give it a B.
I like a B, especially for a 16. Especially for a 16.
Yep.
It's hard. After you get over 12, you kind of are like picking and popping for people by the end of it, and you're kind of like, well, I can see some production in here. So
let me ask you guys a question. I have a very dear friend who made a very questionable pick in my mind. This was a 10-team league. He had the 4th overall pick, and he took Nick Chubb, and I was not okay with that pick.
And was this during the Zeke holdouts? I'm not okay with him. I'm okay with him going in the first round. I'm not okay with him going at 4.
Not top 6 or 7.
Yeah, not top 6 or 7.
again, I'm with her 4 receiver team. Like if I'm not getting one of the big 3 running back juggernauts, well, 4 now that Zeke is back.
Yeah.
If I'm not getting one of those 4, I'm probably going with the Hopkins, Julio, Odell. Like I'm probably taking a receiver.
I mean, but you can even there's other running back value that's above Chubb. Like Chubb is like an 11th pick in a 12 team format. You know, a 10th pick in a 10-team format. He's just right outside at that range.
Sure.
You could take Todd Gurley above him, Le'Veon Bell above him,
David Johnson.
David Johnson above him. So there was definitely value and a lot of different options there. But
he was to be there in the second round. Like he was take Hopkins and then get him on your second pick.
Right. Exactly. And then you end up a lot better off there. Yeah, actually, yeah. I don't like him at the 4th, but I do agree that he's a first rounder, just not a 4th overall pick.
There's a lot to go around in Cleveland as well. You know, it's not like that's going to be a very run heavy offense.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to make some people happy, and I feel like Baker might change the plays a couple times if he wants to throw the ball. So
1%. Let's see. So do you have any fantasy sleepers? Are there any fantasy sleepers that you have?
I've been throwing darts at Deebo Samuel.
Okay.
Kind of like that he looks good, I guess. I mean, I'm hoping the Niners pull through this year.
See, interview Deebo, so definitely cheering for Deebo. I have him as a sleeper too. Who would you say is your sleeper?
I mean, there's a lot we can talk about here. Like if we're gonna stay with wide receivers, I mean, I know nobody's talking about him, but I like Geronimo Allison. I've slightly just been saying it like for Green Bay, but they're gonna have to find somebody to throw to, and I think Devontae Adams is gonna be doubled the entire game. So that's kind of a reach of a sleeper, but I mean that is a sleeper for you. So
I'll take that one. I like that.
And you
one.
just drafted him in front of me, as I just told you. I was upset that you did that to me. So
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I would have to say I'm gonna go with the running back.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
There's always guys like Marquise Brown or like Mohamed Sanu or like even like Miles Boykin that you're like, okay, like if they're available in your league after week 1 and they have even if they have targets, if they get a lot of targets, if they get a lot of looks,
right.
I think it's worth looking at a Miles Boykin. I mean, these are deep sleepers, or like a Jamison Crowder, a Goodwin.
Yeah,
I love you mentioning like half the guys we got the chance to sit next to. This is
exactly.
Yeah.
I would have to say Devin Singletary. I'm gonna pick a running back. The second that LaShawn McCoy left Buffalo, I immediately hit the waiver wire in all my leagues. I was able to pick him up in 2. He did go drafting in 8 leagues.
Nice.
Which is impressive, especially for a rookie and as low as his ADP was. Devin Singletary is my sleeper. I'm encouraging everyone, if he is still on the waiver wire by some grace of the fantasy gods, and you run to him immediately.
Love it.
Yeah.
Somebody offered me a trade in one of my leagues. Josh Gordon for I have Singletary, and I said no, thank you.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I'll take the sure chance here.
Yep, I'll take the upside over someone that's gonna get bounced from the league probably in the middle of the season.
We'll see how he does.
You had your preseason question. I actually wanted to let's get that.
Okay. So yeah, this is a little off fantasy football, but so we kind of on air, off air, I've been talking about it because it was a really major thing before the start of the year on the preseason games, and the fact that they're even considering, reducing the amount of preseason games, whether that means adding regular season games or just taking away preseason games. Do you think that is a good decision? Would you want to see maybe less preseason games to avoid injuries, fatigue, things like that? Or do you think the preseason games are absolutely necessary?
I don't add to the regular season. That is only going to hurt bodies and, cause more injuries. Can we reduce the preseason? Sure. Do we need to go from 4 to 2? Probably not. Maybe we go from 4 to 3. Also, do we need to broadcast them? Because if they are just scrimmages and they're easier for teams to attend, like if there are more partnerships when the Chargers and the Saints always spend like 2 weeks of training camp together, or the Rams and the Raiders spend time together, I think the coaches are getting more out of that. I don't really know the behind the scenes of what the coaches are and are not getting out of it. We see things like in Hard Knocks where that's where cuts are made. That's where dudes come up and make big plays. So it might be that those are the exhibition times where coaches need to make those decisions. From a fan standpoint and from a network standpoint, I mean, I need to make money. So I'm always going to say, yeah, more preseason games, whether people watch it. Well, let's keep it going. And I think that owners and coaches are just not – we're seeing fewer and fewer starters, which is fine. We already know who's going to start. You already know who's in your starting. So it's just a shift now, which is less entertaining for us as fans, right, because we're watching dudes we've never heard of. But if you don't like it, don't watch it. That's it. People are complaining about games. Don't watch it. And I don't think that there are enough head coaches and owners who would say that they don't benefit from those exhibition games with real hits and real game scripts and real dress rehearsals. There are a lot of benefits to it that we just don't see. But if it happened and we eliminated to 2 games, sure, let's do it. But I don't think it will anytime soon. I just don't think that is the preference besides maybe Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I like that. I like that joke right there. That was nice. I would have to say, we got to keep the preseason, or at least the minimum is maybe down to 3 games. But coming from someone that we watch, and we also do play-by-play whenever the games are live. We call play-by-play for our channels. Because some people, they like to watch the game on TV and then have us do the commentary. And what I've noticed covering the preseason is that's when we know who's going to make the roster. It's important. I see that the coach's importance to be able to go out there and make those decisions. I feel that it's needed, and even as a fan, like especially if you're a diehard fan of your team and like you just truly love your team, then it's super important that you have preseason and you're allotted at least 3 to 4 preseason games to get the new talent acclimated into the game situations. Like you can't tell me that guys like Dwayne Haskins would have not have benefited from an extra preseason game, or maybe a couple of snaps. We don't need to see the veterans, but we do need to know what's going to happen when the veterans go out, because in this game, this is a 3-hour-long car crash for the players on the field. And believe me, I put on pads in high school, and a high school game is shorter. I knew how my body felt afterwards. Injuries happen. This is a real life game where people's bodies break down. We need to know what the depth of the second stringers and third stringers are going to look like before going out there and just putting everybody together on a field, because this is a game where if your head's not on a swivel, one blindside tackle could be the end of your career.
Sure. Again, I just think it's because there's guys fighting for their jobs. I mean, literally, and starters are there, but there's guys that are on the line that preseason game is their job. It's their job interview essentially with the team. So, I mean, it might not matter, again, like you said, to some of the fans. They might just be like, whatever, it's not entertaining. But again, this is a life for some of these guys. So we agreed with keeping the preseason, just that's kind of been a hot topic. We definitely wanted to ask a producer in the industry on what you thought about that. So
exactly. I mean, you're around it all the time. So, what she got, bro?
She's got the inside scoop on it. So again, I know we kind of shifted out of fantasy football, but I know you said you don't really have a team right now. So this is an easier question, honestly, probably than you having a favorite team right now. But as a producer, if you got to produce whatever 2 teams you wanted in the Super Bowl right now, like you said, you get to sit down with these guys, do all the stories, everything like that. What are the 2 teams that you think either would be the most fun for you or just the most entertaining and just the best to do right now if you could put 2 teams together?
I like that.
Oh, wow. Okay, not the only because their stories have already been told.
Yeah, just like a storyline that you want to see.
The Rams, I got to do the Rams last year, so we'll not say them either. I would say I would love to see the Chargers for Phillip Rivers' sake. He deserves it. He has so much energy. I would love to do a sit down with him and all of his kids. Like, we talk about all these, but let's see names and faces, and just I want to go in Phillip Rivers' home with my camera and find out what dinner time is like at the Rivers household.
Yes.
That would be wild.
We need that.
Yes, and he's got like more girls than boys, but I bet you those girls know a ton about football. So definitely the Chargers, and taking a camera into dinner time at the Rivers household would be a piece that I would want to do for the Super Bowl. And so then let's pick an NFC team. Not the Packers, not the Falcons, okay, maybe the Bears, but let me keep thinking.
You don't gotta do that for me. You don't gotta do that for me. Thank you. You don't gotta do that for me.
Not the Cowboys.
Yes, thank God, yes.
Not the Redskins.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys. Nobody wants to see the Redskins but me. It's okay.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like the Packers get enough love. The Vikings are kind of blah. What's an exciting franchise in the NFC East or the NFC that people enjoy these days? The Panthers just had all or nothing type of deal.
Yeah, they're a team without a ring. I mean, it could be a battle of teams without a ring. Who would get a ring?
I feel like she already said, like, with Phillip. We want to see Phillip Rivers in the Super Bowl to see the man in the Super Bowl. I feel like seeing Drew Brees in that situation would be really cool, and to sit down with his boys too. It's the same idea, you know.
That would be really fun. And then we could do like if it was the Chargers and the Saints, there would for sure be some kind of element of the what if, right? Because we go back to the draft, and if Phillip never went to the Chargers, or if Breeze never got hurt and he never left San Diego, and he never went to New Orleans.
That would be crazy. That would be great stories.
I would do some kind of element of like, what if, he never, and then we would never be here where we are. And a lot of people think that the Chargers made the wrong move by letting Drew go or by trading Eli away. And I'm a big Drew girl. Love Drew Brees. He's my favorite player. So I have no problem with sending him back to the Super Bowl.
See, I like it. I like that when you got the producer hat. Yeah, like kind of seeing the gears turning there for you, Krystal. That was nice. Let's see. Do you have any more questions? I know that I have one that I definitely want to close the show out with.
She's answering my question without me asking questions.
Yeah,
it's super cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, yo, this is awesome. So I do have one final question that I want to be able to wrap the show with. What advice do you give, or would you give to young aspiring? I mean, it's not so much to us because we're old at this point.
I mean, regardless, we with Sportscaster, if you haven't heard of it, it's a platform where you can basically just go on and again do play-by-play cover situations, moments, and there's a lot of kids in there that it's meant for them to try and come up, either in the industry if that's what they want to do, or just enjoy sitting in front of a camera, talking to people in the chat and enjoying it. So, I mean, you can continue, but that's what I want to go with.
Yeah, there's the play-by-play campers that are listening to us right now. And would like to know, that younger generation that does follow us would like to know, how could they get to where you're at? I mean, what does it take, and what advice you have?
A lot of prayer. Jesus for giving me this opportunity, which is rad. But I would say you're doing it. You're practicing for an audience of 1, for an audience of 10. You're writing for a blog, whether one person reads it, 100 people read it. You're just like football players. You need all the reps you can get. So it's producing as much content as you can, or watching as much film as you can, or writing as many articles as you can, no matter who's watching, who's reading, finding your voice, finding what gives you the edge, staying up to date, watching NFL Network so that you know what's happening. It's a competitive industry. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
It's competitive, and part of what keeps me at my job when I am upset and want to quit is knowing that there is a stack of resumes taller than me of people who want my job. So I'm not going to lie that it's easy to get into, but if you give yourself a good platform and you build a community, so many of these great podcasts or streams there's a community of people who support each other, right? So you're not just supporting yourself, you're pushing out other people's content and you're building a network and you're saying, check out what my friend wrote, check out this person's live stream.
Right.
And also just realizing the industry that you're trying to go into is not an easy one. Football, sports is 24/7. There are no holidays. There are no weekends. It is around the clock. I'll tell you how many weddings and funerals and birthdays that we miss because they happen during the NFL season. So it is a all-consuming industry, and it is not something that you clock in, clock out, and get to leave, because when you're not at the office, you're still on Twitter, you're still listening, you're still reading. It's a 24-hour news cycle. So if you can accept that and swallow that and recognize that your passion outweighs all of those negatives, then you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't just to like relate with that. I can't express how many times, because, I running the company, everything like that. I was telling you today, I'm sorry that I got, the show notes late because I was busy, super busy. Sponsorships, sending emails back and forth, doing analytics, getting the content, producing everything. There are so many countless nights where I've gone to sleep with 4 hours of sleep, but I'm back up the next day. Zeke just signed. We got to get up, get this reported. I have alarms set, for just to make sure I check my phone throughout the night. It's hard work and dedication. So if you guys do exactly what Krystal has said, anyone and every single guest that we've ever brought to the show. This is now the second NFL Network member that we brought on, NFL Network team member that we brought on, and this is now the second time we've heard the exact same advice. So if it's advice that we're implementing here, and it's advice that they're saying,
and they're where they are,
exactly, then please hang on to it. Look at people like Krystal. Look at people like Adam. Look at people like Stepmom Lauren, and those are inspirations, and you can get there too. Just stay focused.
Love it.
Hell yeah. Other than that, you ready to do this, bro?
Let's wrap it up.
All righty. Cheers to me.
Cheers to you.
All the Rumboyz and girls, what it do. We appreciate you guys. Have a nice night.
See you guys.